For further analysis on the story, we are joined by Ali K. Elyader, an analyst from Isfahan, Iran. So thank you for joining us. Iranian media released the footage of Supreme Leader Moshtaba. What is the significance of this release as in some sort of messaging for the US?
Honestly, the footage has not been verified. It might be, as you said, previous footage. But obviously, any footage from Moshtaba Khamenei, if verified and if basically legitimate footage is shown, obviously it's welcome by the Iranians and it sends a strong message. But I think his written messages being strong statements enough. The last legitimate official messages from Moshtaba Khamenei, said Moshtaba Khamenei, Iran's leader, were pertained to the axis of resistance and how the Hezbollah and the southern Lebanese forces of Hezbollah, the Palestinian resistance, the Yemeni resistance, and the Iranian resistance were united and constituted, in essence, one front against Israeli and American hegemonic ambitions. And that's the official message that was last sent by said Moshtaba Khamenei. And obviously, his mistrust, in his message, he also echoed the mistrust that Iranians have towards American commitments, American signature, and American diplomacy. So I think that was message enough. But obviously, any kind of official footage, if verified, will be hugely welcome both internally, and I think it will also send a strong message externally as well.
And Iran has released a footage, what is reportedly the debris of US F-15. So what does an aircraft loss mean for Iran when US precision munition stocks are indeed under pressure?
I think Iran acts pragmatically and intelligently in this war. The reason they had, and obviously the tit-for-tat exchange of fire and the kinetic action recently, it showed an asymmetric dominance, and most geopolitical analysts, military analysts across the world have stated that Iran was victorious in the military campaign, despite having a 100th budget of the American military or the Israeli military. I think the F-15 was not the first aircraft that was downed or damaged. We all remember the three aircrafts near Kuwait with a similar incident. We also remember the bases that were hit in Jordan and other countries in the area that included F-35s and US warcrafts or aircrafts were in those areas. Iran has downed several drones as well. And Iran understands the bottleneck in production of the American military industrial complex, meaning they know that they have a shortage of ammunition. They know that there's a bottleneck in production. They know that the Chinese rare earth minerals that are required by the military industrial complex are not being supplied in the same way as before by China. Maybe that is also China flexing or leveraging their power towards the Americans to stop their warring ambitions in the region. And Iran also knows that the anti-aircraft batteries, whether the THAADs or the long-range missiles and the Patriots, they are also running out and depleting. Iran also sees the major disagreements within the military apparatus of America, and several reports have been linked that the military generals in the United States are basically disagreeing with Pete Hegseth's warring ambitions. They are disagreeing with the fact that they were pulled into this war by Israel, and they're sounding off the alarms of ammunition depletion to the Trump administration and Trump himself. So Iran is obviously analyzing all of this, and Iran has moved methodically and strategically during the war, even after the cessation of the kinetic conflict, after the MOU, and even in the recent tit-for-tat. The fact that Iran was pushing the bases away from the Iranian proximity and towards Jordan, and trying to push the American bases away by hitting them in the vicinity of the Persian Gulf. That was also part of the MOU. Point number 4 which the Americans should have done unilaterally, but Iran perhaps used some pressure to make sure America doesn't pose the same threat in its geographical vicinity.
And Iranian foreign minister says that basically the deal with Oman is in final stages. So, but links the Hormuz reopening to United States withdrawn and paying compensations. So, what are your expectations on this?
My analysis of this is obviously we'd better take the Iranian statements more as at face value. The perfidious, duplicitous, and insidious Trump administration acting treacherously throughout our region. Their credibility in statements and actions have been eroded. So I think it's smart to take Araghchi's statements at face value and more of a reality. So Mr. Araghchi has stated that the Hormuz Strait opening up to normal traffic is obviously conditional to compensation, indemnities, and reparation being paid to Iran, especially with shipments from countries that aided and abetted and were complicit in the actions taken against Iran. So obviously, Iran sees the United States as a country with a $40 trillion budget deficit, a country in debt. So when it can use its own geographical waterways to receive compensation through whether you want to call it a fee system, a tolling system, something that also complements its maritime jurisdiction under maritime law, and also complements rules of war and laws of war where Iran, the country that has been the aggressor, needs to pay compensation to Iran. Iran perhaps sees the fastest way to getting paid back is through its own waterways than waiting for money to be paid from a country in debt. I think that's Iran again takes a more pragmatic and realistic option to ensure the country's security and sovereignty, and make sure that there are the damages that were inflicted upon Iran, the war crimes that were inflicted on Iran, on its critical infrastructure, on its hospitals, is paid back in a way. And we have to also remember that after the MOU, in an almost 2-week period, traffic in the Strait of Hormuz reached almost 60% of pre-war levels. And it was only the treacherous the actions of the Americans, the reckless actions of trying to coerce Arab countries in opening a different waterway, coercing Oman to do so, by taking illegal or basically actions in Lebanon, which had conflicts of interest with the main MOU signed. With these actions in Yemen and across the region, the Americans and the Israelis are taking a reckless path forward. I think you might see a lot of false flag operations going on in the future. We have to be aware of American violations. If Americans do not violate the terms of the MOU which they signed, then I think Iran will also move forward in opening up the Strait of Hormuz responsibly with Oman under the condition that it is paid compensation.
Many thanks, Ali, for joining us.